Hey guys, welcome back to the Girlfriends and Goals podcast. My name is Samaria and I'm joined by my best friend and co-host.
Miosha.
And today we're reviewing Married at First Sight season 18, episode 12. All right, so if you're enjoying this season or not enjoying it, make sure you like this video, comment down below, let us know your thoughts about the show, and subscribe to our channel. All right, we are going to kick it off with Thomas and Camille because there wasn't much on them.
Yeah, they
Still
go.
loving them.
Yeah, thankfully we have one couple that we can root for. So they go visit her dad's side of the family, and I said Camille has a very beautiful, nice looking family. Her grandma is so cute.
Her grandma is cute, but also Camille has her dad's whole face.
Whole face.
Like copy paste. I was like, good God, it's him with hair and
Yeah,
younger.
more so than her sister, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to see what the
Absolutely.
brother looks like. We haven't seen him yet, I don't think.
I would like to see it.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, it was a cute visit. Grandma was like, see what you're inheriting. And I thought
Yeah.
that was such a beautiful moment. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really it
Yeah.
from her side.
The one thing that I wanted to bring up that Thomas said, and he said it a few times, he's saying hopefully being around her family, more of her walls can come down and he can see more of her soft side. So that seems to be a reoccurring comment that he's making. And so to hear her dad say that, oh, Camille's always been independent, a go-getter, a great big sister, it kind of makes sense as to why she's so comes across as being so strong. And I just wrote that I hope soon that she can start to let more of those walls down. But obviously, you kind of have to earn that trust a bit. You can't just let your walls down to everyone. But yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully they
What
can
did
make
Dr.
progress
Pepper say?
soon.
The parentified child or something like that. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they went to see, was it Feeny?
Feeny, yeah, his mom, his bio mom. Yeah, she was cute too. I love her energy.
Yeah. And I like her story made sense. Like I can only imagine you're what, 16, you already have a child and now twins.
I
Twins a lot
know.
for a couple that's prepared for children. But for a 16-year-old child, girl,
I know. I was happy that they shared her side of the story or her perspective because I think it's something that you don't hear often. You hear the child, you hear the adoptive parents, but clearly it's been over 40 years and this is still impacting her. I also wrote that I love how he embraces his mom, how they have a relationship now, and the grace that he's shown her.
yeah.
I'm like, Camille, these are awesome signs. Green flags, green flags. I think it's good to see a man have so much grace for a woman. Yes, it's his mom. It's a complicated situation, but it shows that he has patience and forgiveness in his heart, and I think that's a great, trait to have in a partner. So,
For sure, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, and then they took some shots and Feeny cooked
Hmm.
some good food and that was that. That's all I have on Thomas and Camille for this episode.
Yep, that's it.
All right, so let's do Allan and Madison. They didn't have too much. There are a lot. This episode was, I don't want to say boring, but there just wasn't a lot of stuff happening. And I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with us not having a whole bunch of drama in an episode, but it was a very emotional episode, I would say.
It was. I also think we're kind of when you're watching couples where you know that they're not going to work out. It's like, oh, them writing these letters to their younger selves. It just feels pointless. But either way, Allen and Madison they go to play baseball, another active event. One thing Madison is going to do is have this man active, moving, and sweating.
But I feel like the baseball date gave friend vibes to me.
Hmm.
But even the conversations around their parents and how the relationship with one's mom affects how Madison thinks about herself having kids and
Hmm.
all of that. I felt like there were deep conversations between two friends.
Oh yeah, even her saying she feels more emotionally connected to him as a friend. It just seems like y'all are two supportive friends.
And I will say I appreciate her being upfront about that. Like, I do feel very connected to you emotionally, but the
Hmm.
romantic, like, I appreciate that she's never led him on. Well, I wouldn't say never because last week when she could have answered the attraction question, she beat all around that bush. But
That, and she did say something. I don't know if it was the baseball scene or fishing, but she said something where, well, I do want this to work and I hope that it works out. So I think for the most part, she's not leading him on, but then sprinkling in certain things where
hmm,
I feel like she's not being as honest or direct as she could be because she didn't have to say that. Do you really want this to work?
I feel like she does or did genuinely. And I know people are going to disagree with me. I don't think she came in wanting this for her experience, right?
Oh,
And
no,
so,
I agree with that. I don't think
yeah.
she came in wanting this, but now that we're over halfway through,
Yeah.
you're with your husband and you've seen
Yeah.
him.
Maybe she should say, I wish this could work.
Right. Right. Because we're so far in now, you're not speaking about what you hoped for at the
Hmm.
beginning of the experience before you met your spouse. So,
Yeah. All right. And then was it the fishing one where Alan talked
mhm.
about his childhood and he also talked about the types of women that he's been attracted to in the past? Like chaotic energy was what he was used to, and so he attracted that in partners. Uh, I want rest for Alan. I want him to find someone who's as far away from chaotic as possible and to be able to settle down. Clearly, that's not Madison, but
Mhm.
I don't know when this filmed, maybe late last year or early last year, not too sure, but I really hope that he has found or does find his person soon.
Yeah, but his explanation makes sense. It's, like when you come from certain experiences and a background,
Hmm.
I don't want to say it's nice to not have to explain the craziness of your family. I think it does take off a bit of the pressure and maybe even embarrassment that may come with it if you're paired with someone who is used to that as well. They get it. It's one less thing you have to explain. So,
Hmm.
not saying that it's right, but I understand the thought process.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have anything else on them. Do you?
No, he gets emotional.
Mhm.
She finally does give him a hug, but something that she said where I was like, dang, girl, just give him a
You
hug.
couldn't let him have the hug.
Well, he goes to put down his fishing rod, and she's like, hurry up, you only got 5 seconds.
Oh.
It's like, let him put his stuff down. If you're going to give him a hug to embrace him and uplift him while he's just been emotional, just give him the hug. Don't put him on a time limit. And he enjoyed it. He picked her up, and yeah.
Like a friend would.
Like a friend would.
Okay, sorry, this is an aside, but I was at church one time. You know how they have you say stuff to the person next to you? So
Hmm.
this particular church, they would do it at the end of service. And the person who was sitting next to me, I didn't know this person, but we had had interactions throughout the service when the pastor would say, turn to the person and say whatever.
Hmm.
So at the end of service, they're like, say this to the person. And we said the thing to each other, getting ready to head out. And this person picks me up. When I tell you I froze, I was like,
Was it a
I don't
man?
even, I don't even know you.
Was
It
it a
was the most
man?
awkward. And then once I landed on the ground, I was so robotic. I was like, okay,
This was a man, right?
yes. And I'm just like, we were at church. I could not have been exuding that much. I mean, maybe I was exuding friendly energy, but friendly energy for church, not to be lifted up off the ground. I was, yeah, it was very awkward. Sorry. Back to Married at First Sight. Oh, Carla and Juan.
Okay.
All right. So Juan wrote a letter to his 6-month-old self, 6-year-old self, and 16-year-old self, I believe.
Hmm.
Yeah. So there was a lot. There was a lot there. Miosha had to remind me that Juan's dad is still very much alive
Hmm.
because with the letter writing and I don't know. I guess I got so sucked in to the emotion of it all that I forgot we saw his dad at the beginning of the season where he asked Carla what she brought to the table.
What do you do?
Right, what do you do? Because Juan needs somebody who is going to make money. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, the gist of it is that, at these different points, he was separated from his parents or they experienced some type of hardship. Um, I think it's fine that he's sharing these things. I just think the way that it kind of came across was, but I've done the work and I'm healed and I'm better. But also, he was very broken up about it. So I kind of walked away a bit confused from that whole or his whole dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes not in this moment, but in past episodes, sometimes things that Juan might do seem like performative a little bit. And so I wonder if sometimes we come into episodes expecting that. And so for me, with the emotion he showed, I had to tell myself, no, like he's been through a lot of stuff.
Hmm.
Everything's not performative. Like I had to remind myself he's a person and this doesn't necessarily have to be performative because he tends to be, in my opinion. Yeah.
And I think in contrast with Carla's energy, she
Yeah.
just seemed very neutral, just like, okay, these things have happened. And then she did at the end get up and embrace him. So,
I appreciated that though. I think a lot of times when others notice you being emotional, they want to rush in and do the hugs and the.
hmm.
So I appreciated that she let him get it all out, finish what he was saying and doing and reading, and then embraced him at the end. So I appreciated that. Carla
Yeah.
talked about how instead of expressing herself growing up, she turned cold, which I think we can see that. Like, yeah, I
Hmm.
think we could see that in her. So,
Yep.
yeah.
And then she did introduce him to her parents. What do you think about that?
You know, with these two, I just don't know because some couples are weird like that,
Mm.
where nobody else really sees it, but they do. But I just wondered what characteristics she's seen in Juan that made her take that step. She could have gone this whole season. We're more than halfway. We're closer to decision day than we are to the wedding day. So what about him indicates that there's a future, so much so that you want to introduce him to your parents? Or maybe she wanted to go to the cookout and just felt bad
Yeah.
leaving him.
Right. Yeah. Characteristics and also his just he seems he's not interested in her. He's not pursuing her. He's not being affectionate or trying to give her affection. When they were with her cousins, they talked about the lack of affection. So it's his characteristics, but it's also he's just not showing her that he's interested in her in that way. So I was confused by her introducing him to her family
Yeah.
because nothing about what we've seen indicates that it's moving in that direction. But maybe they know more than we do.
Or
So,
it could have been her attempt because she did say in an effort to be open and move forward. So
hmm.
maybe that was her throwing out a Hail Mary. I think that's the right term in
Yeah.
football. Okay. Yeah, throwing out a Hail Mary and hoping that he would catch it. Do you catch a Hail
Yeah.
Mary? Okay. I sound like the typical. I know basketball. I don't know football well. All right. But yeah, they seemed, or she seemed more optimistic this episode about their relationship. And I'm saying that based off her introducing him to her parents. Because I'm like, why else would you do that if you aren't feeling optimistic about
Yeah.
the
Nothing else
relationship?
does. The last thing I wrote about Juan, so when they get back to the apartment, he has to announce, I cleaned. You see how good it smells in here. I don't know, maybe part of his love language is words of affection. And Carla's like, okay, like,
Oh
that's
yeah, words of
cool.
affirmation, girl. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Mhm.
But I was hoping that it was going in the right direction, but then when they sat down with her cousins and he was still hesitant about being affectionate with her, I was like, okay, yeah, ain't nothing changed.
Mm-mm.
We have seen no
Okay.
changes. All
Okay.
right. Michelle and David.
Yeah.
Now, David. Now, David. All right, so let's set the scene. David hung out with Allan and Madison for dinner, and then they went to a bar. So what?
Question. Before you keep going, is this the same bar where they met up? Because last episode, Allan and Madison were at a bar watching a game or doing something, and that's when Allan went home. Now, you remember where he drove
Yeah,
home, under the influence. I wonder, I don't know for sure,
it was
was
the
this the
same
same
night.
night? Okay, keep going.
Yeah, because Allan did say, "Oh, you're more affectionate with other people, like David." He name
And
dropped.
he went home salty about something.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I said last week, David is such a bro that I struggle to see him doing that to Allan. But yeah.
And
Okay.
I didn't say this last week, but when you said it, I thought these people aren't friends like that.
Right. That's the thing. So he is a bro, but to his bros, not to people who he's on the show with, maybe. So,
Anyway,
okay. I'll just put out there, I'm not necessarily mad at it. I think from the beginning, like at the honeymoon, we saw a connection between David and Madison when they went to the gym together in Mexico.
well, we're jumping ahead just a little bit because we don't know for sure that it's Madison. We connecting the dots that it is, but
It
just
has
so
to be.
we put it out there in case some people didn't watch the whole episode, y'all just watched us, make us feel special. But he claims, so he sends a text to Michelle that says, "You so damn fine. I just want to eat you up."
Miasha, why are you adding stuff? It's it said you are so fine. I want to eat you up. Look at adding words in there. I mean, you
Listen,
are a goddess. I just want to.
because that's what he wrote, but I'm saying what he meant. You're not gonna put everything in the text. So
Oh, weak.
Michelle obviously knows, okay, this wasn't for me. And he claims that the text was meant for his cousin Denise. Now, why Denise get bought in this?
Okay.
You should
I
have
just
said your
feel like
cousin, I don't know. What's another M name? Maya. Not Denise. Because, like, why would you even get them? Like, you would need another M name, but
and that's why I think it's Madison.
he
Because
denies it, comes up with a story about how it was meant. He was talking about food. It
can we just okay, here's the thing. Here's what I have an issue with. David, you could have come up with a better lie. Like that's it. Or I mean, I would say or tell the truth, but in this case, I understand why he wouldn't tell the truth. If it were just him and Michelle in this process and the person wasn't Madison, I think it would be easy to say, yeah, I have been talking to other people. You're not giving me the attention. You're clearly not interested. We're just doing our time. We are 2 weeks to decision day. There's clearly nothing here. So yeah, I am talking to other people. The reason why I think a lie even had to enter into this equation is to protect Madison.
right. Or he could have just said, "Yeah, it was for you. I was feeling a little saucy, had a few drinks,
They
and
said that in the
I
after
just was
party.
like, man, maybe I just need to be more direct, shoot my shot, let her know like I'm interested in you in that way." David, you could have called us,
Come on,
and
friend.
we
Call
could have.
us next time. We got you. Actually, we don't got you because
Yeah,
next
we're
time it'll be
joking.
right. It'll be
Yeah,
in a real
we don't want to help
relationship.
you lie to your wife.
Right. But yeah, I think if this were a woman, if this were me, when I tell you as soon as that text left my fingers, I would have already started thinking about what am I going to say? How am I going to spin this? But I think because Michelle didn't respond to it, maybe he thought he got off scot free
Yeah, because he
and
said
was
he
just like,
deleted it, but we all know if they've already opened it on their end.
yeah. And so
But
yeah,
he didn't put no
what gets
effort or
me?
thought into the lie. So that might almost be a good thing. Like he's not a good liar.
I think it's I think it's
If you're dealing with a real manipulator or a real liar, the story would have added up almost too good. He would have had all the
Mhm.
receipts. So I think that might be a good thing in that. Like, okay, when this guy lies, it's clearly obvious.
Yeah. And he does seem like physical appearance, he's obviously strong, but he just does seem like a sweet human.
What you see is what you get.
Yeah, so I think this was just very awkward. It was definitely meant for another M who he had been texting, and that's Madison. And so I was trying to watch in the previews when Michelle tells the group how Madison reacts. And to me, it's
Right.
getting
And
guilty.
did he actually end up sending the message to the intended person? Like, did you follow up, David?
But you don't just say that if y'all haven't had some type of something prior to. Saying you want to eat somebody up is not the first thing is not the first base of flirtation.
And my whole thing is, when would y'all have had time? Was it these early morning gym sessions with Juan that's there? So many questions. But I will say, one, I honestly don't care. I know that sounds bad, but Michelle seemed to light up and be excited because I think this is her get out of jail free card. Ah, gotcha. Um, this is the most we've seen her smile consistently when she's been
Mhm.
drilling him about this text message. But Michelle, I just don't think we care. Like, you don't like him, you don't want to stay married to him.
If you don't want me, then don't talk to me. Go
Like
ahead and free yourself.
like
Fantasia
it's
made that song for
messy.
Michelle.
It's messy. It's obviously not right.
Yeah.
At the same time, the way she's conducted herself, I think it's hard for us to have empathy. And if this is the thing you're lighting up about and being excited about, like, girl,
Does she even want empathy? Like you give I don't think she wants the pity. I think she's happy that this happened so that she
oh
has
yeah,
the
it's so
pity. So
obvious.
why would we be empathetic when this is her ideal. She probably wishes this had happened sooner so that she didn't have to fake it
Hmm.
so poorly
Hmm.
for as long as she did. But what was interesting is well, one, she didn't bring it up with her family, which I
Hmm.
appreciated. I
Yeah.
think that type of thing you might only bring it up with your family if you actually cared about the person. At this point, we're just buying time.
Hmm.
But then she talks to her friend, who I believe is the one who did her eyebrows. Is
Oh, it
that the
was the
same
same
lady?
person. Oh, okay. I
I
couldn't
thought
remember.
so. But in that, she said something about, yeah, because I'm his wife or he's my husband. I'm like, now, Michelle, you have
This.
never uttered those words as it relates to David. So it takes someone else being interested
Hmm.
and him being also interested in that person for you to now stand in your status as a wife. Come on.
Get out of here. Yeah,
It's
it's
weird to me.
it is what it is. And he's leaning into it. He's like, I said what I said, but part of me just wishes he would have owned it because from the previews we see this is going to keep coming up.
Now she calling
Um,
Denise, and Denise like, I have no idea. I've never even been to Chinatown because that's what he said. He said it was a plate of food, and they were inviting him out to eat in Chinatown. But instead of saying it looks so good, I want to eat it up. He said, "You look so good," or "You are so fine." Which who calls a plate of food fine? Friend
would you be
David,
calling would you be calling your cousin that?
right? So I mean, okay, wait. David is the person who calls his guy friends babe.
Oh,
So,
okay.
you know,
Yeah,
he could
maybe.
even lean into that. I mean, there are so many ways this lie could have gone,
True. True. Mm-mm.
and he didn't take none of the routes. It was like you could go straight, and there's a clear paved road, and he decided to like jump off a cliff with his lie.
Mm. But
But
but then the follow up, she asked David, "Oh, have you texted any other girls since we've been married?" He's like, "Yep, I have at least three."
there was Keisha, Sabrina, about three Kims. He turned into DMX.
Oh my gosh. She
Yeah.
claims her feelings are hurt. Lies.
But also, she was like, oh, it had to be a sexy photo that he was responding to. And I'm like, girl, no. You
She
need a
not even
friend too,
connecting
because
the
you got it
dots
all wrong. He was
in real
out with
time.
Madison, maybe an Allan, and he's looking at her from across the room. And that's the text that he sends. Like, that's clear. Yeah, that's
Dude,
clearly what happened.
should I spill the tea on what we know?
No, because people have already been putting it in comments,
Okay.
and
All
some
right.
people do not like spoilers. But
Okay.
I think you told me this after this episode, though,
I
right?
did.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
No, no, no. I told you before this
Okay,
episode. Yeah, yeah.
okay. Anyways,
Right.
so I don't really have much else to say, but
Mm.
Michelle, you obviously don't get to show interest in him now, when you haven't been this entire time. I don't even think it's appropriate for her to feel a way about him talking to other women. Like, I don't know. She hasn't given him much.
You, you know, if she, I think, was being a bit more thoughtful, she would be mindful of how much she's going to grill him on this because I think him doing this on the surface does give her an out. Like, okay, he's clearly checked out as well. Fine. But you continuing to grill him and and it's obvious that you weren't interested in him, still aren't interested in him, I think that's just going to annoy the audience with her.
Yeah.
If you cared, then we could get with it. We know you don't care, so now you're being performative, and now this is just adding on to the behavior that we've seen prior to this. So,
Yeah.
Michelle, if you're watching this, you should have just said, okay, this is what the situation is, and check out mentally as you already have and get up out of there. That's it.
But because it's not just about him being wrong and a wrong being corrected, I think it's a little bit about, and I'm not saying she's doing this intentionally, but I think it's a little bit about absolving her own guilt and cleaning up her own image. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
she's aware of how she's been coming off, and so now she has to go hard to try to make herself seem cleaner than she is, but it's already done.
Yeah, the going hard is just going to annoy people the rest of the season.
Now you calling Denise, like, girl, we know he's talking to somebody else.
He told you three other people other than Madison, actually.
Oh
Whew,
man.
okay.
All right. So we'll get you in a mem because we have to. It's just punishment at this point.
It is. I literally just want to fast forward through their scenes. It's torture.
Okay. So at the beginning of the episode, we see him talking about how he has mixed emotions about moving back in because I don't want to lose my peace. He wants peace, quietness, and stillness. And to me, another indication that he doesn't want marriage, not because marriage can't be peaceful and still and quiet, but I think with any relationship or with any change, there's this transitional period. And so I think it is obvious that, you have to make effort to get to that peace and stillness within your relationship, within your marriage. And so he just didn't bank on what there being a transitional period where things were awkward. I don't understand. Like, you're a grown man, you understand how life transitions work. When you move from Houston to Chicago, chasing Married at First Sight, it wasn't just like a plug and play. You had a transitional period. So why you would expect not to have that with a whole other person who is grown and who, is self-sufficient and independent, it's not clicking for me.
Yeah, because he also has no practice even really being in a relationship. So,
Yeah. Anyway, so then we get to their friends, and I was very thrilled that Mem was saying the same things that she didn't
finally.
want to, because I'm like, yes, exactly. That's what I would like. But let's talk about Ikechi with his friend.
I mean, obviously he's trying to paint a narrative that Emim is causing all this chaos in the relationship. At first, the friend is like, okay, well, she's trying to get to know you, as anybody else would say.
And as everybody has said.
He's like, oh, but he just feels like she wants an explanation for everything. In his mind, which is so odd, I guess he feels like no one should ask questions to get to know him, but it's actually a dual experience where yeah, I'll experience you being around you naturally, but there will be questions to be asked.
Because I
That's
don't know
even
your
with a
thought
friendship.
process just by seeing how you move, like I don't know what ideologies you subscribe to. I don't know you. I know that you are competitive because we had a game night or something. I know that you enjoy music because we went to listen to jazz in the park or whatever. But
But how else would you really cut to the chase and get to know someone? Otherwise, it could take you 5 years. If there's no intentionality or any purpose in how you're maneuvering through the relationship, you'll just find out things just by chance. And you could be 4 years in and be like, wait, this is what you think about this. This is how
yeah,
you are. And then you would have wasted essentially 4 years of your life.
yeah.
But it also goes back to he actually isn't interested in being married, I think, at all. And so for him, it makes sense that you're just flowing and experiencing each other.
Are we 12?
At this age, you probably wouldn't even do that with friendships. You kind of want to establish, like, okay, what is your thought process? How do you feel about certain things? Like, is
Yep.
this a person I want really close to me and my family? You wouldn't just experience this person and then bring them into intimate settings without putting forth that effort. It doesn't make any sense. Unfortunately, though, he did coax the friend over to his side to where he started agreeing with him, but you could kind of see on his face the friend was like, okay.
But he didn't even, he really gave him a chance to answer. He was like, yeah, like if somebody says like, tell me about you, what would you say, right? Like, you just have to get to know me, right? No. If someone said, tell me about you, I actually have answers to give them because I know myself well enough to be able to articulate who I am.
And if you really wanted her to experience you, you would plan and put forth effort for her to experience you. Mr. Boring. Isn't that what you told Raphew?
Oh, I don't
You're
really go out. I
comfortable.
don't really. So, how am I experiencing you? If I'm the only one planning things, well, you just gonna have. If you don't plan anything, guess what? It's gonna have to be a game of 21 questions at this point because if I have to put in all the effort, we're doing the things that I want to do. And I think that's what bothers me about him the most. He keeps talking about how there's no peace here, there's no peace there, but you don't offer peace. The reason why the household is chaotic is because you're chaotic. The reason why there can't be commitment is because you're non-committal. Like, you're the problem here. And I just wish he would sit back and understand. Like, does he catch you really think it's pleasant being around him? Like, he talks about, oh, I'm so uncomfortable in this space and I'm not comfortable. Do you think you are creating a hospitable environment for her? Because you're not. And you're the man. So, Mr. I know how to lead. You should be the one who's like leading with creating this hospitable environment. And then she might be able to come and reciprocate that or, at least rest in that. Like, he's a joke.
Child.
I'm so
Yeah,
frustrated with him. Like, do
I
we still have to
know.
keep watching him week after
But
week?
to move us forward, in Mem is like, oh, we need to have a conversation because they haven't talked at all. And this is where I wish she wouldn't have initiated, like,
Likewise.
just let him reach out. But once again, but I think in her defense, she's like, well, we have this task. How else are we going to move forward
Rip
if
the
we
band-aid
don't
off.
do
Yeah.
something? So,
Yeah.
knowing what we know about her, it kind of makes sense, but I do wish that she wouldn't have reached out to initiate this conversation. However, in the conversation, she agrees, hey, yeah, it's not a good idea for us to move back in. And I think he felt a way about that.
I agree. I
He
agree. I
wants
think
her
it
to be on a
shocked
hamster
him.
wheel.
He wants her on that hamster wheel.
Knowing he don't want her. Why?
Yeah. You know what's funny? Even with when he was talking to his friend, I noticed that he described the dinner so terribly. He's like, "Yeah," and then she blew up and I was like, "Okay, I'm out." No, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. And the dinner to celebrate everybody else, pause. Why are you celebrating everybody else when you're a part of everybody?
And he was talking so fast, his friend probably couldn't even process everything that he was saying. Manipulation.
And if he could process it, he couldn't ask about it. So what's the
True.
point?
True.
Okay, yeah. So they have the conversation. She says, I'm going to fall back The ball's in your court. And I hope that she has what it takes to enforce what she said.
I hope she wouldn't. I was hoping she wouldn't have even said that. But, you know.
She's too good of a communicator. Like,
And even her wanting to circle back on some accountability of him being radio silent for that week, because she was saying like, oh, our communication needs to be better. Of course, he don't want to circle back. Oh no, but I have been texting and calling you, but you didn't that one week. Oh well,
no,
we're
no,
not
no,
going
no,
to
no.
talk
He
about that.
said, because he asked for feedback.
Yeah.
He said, I felt like I was doing that. Let me know if you disagree. And she says, I disagree. And now he's defensive. Well, you can't disagree. I'm not talking about that one week. Well, Dumbo, like, if we're talking about our relationship, we can't just remove the bad parts. We have to address every single thing. And that's how we move forward. Like, he wants to move forward by sweeping things under the rug, it seems. But we can't do that. We have to address it. And so that way we know that we have some resolution.
To
And
get better.
we actually can leave it in the past because I'm in a good place with it. You're in a good place with it. And the way he wants to do it just is inauthentic.
Oh yeah, because he's not invested in the long-term success of the relationship.
Yeah.
So, and he doesn't want to be held accountable or responsible for his actions. And so that's why he doesn't care. But I love how she spoke up for herself, and she was saying how you're being dismissive and it hurts my feelings. Yes, Imam. Talk about how it's making you feel. And he seemed to be receptive. He was like, oh, your feelings are real. But then he gives her a half apology. And, I think we all know at this age, you don't ever say if in an apology.
Because I remember a couple of weeks ago when he sat there and said that she was a predator. She said, I apologize if I made you, well, actually not if, I apologize that I made you feel that way because you just told me I made you feel that way. That sounds like a leader to me, but no, she's aggressive because she knows how to apologize. Like, anyways, so yeah, and he's still dismissed and felt like whatever he was saying was not enough. Yeah, and continued to call her aggressive, even with the friend. Like, he's just not letting that word go, which shows that he's someone who does not know how to shift. Like, he's just stuck. He's stuck in life. He's stuck in behavior.
And he
Just
tried to
stuck.
say she's stuck in the past, but the only reason she's circling back is so that there can be improvement.
Because guess what? It's going to happen again. And then if it's not addressed, I'm going to repeat the behaviors that you don't like. You're going to repeat the behaviors that I don't like. So there's no moving forward if this isn't addressed.
Yeah. And then at the end, he says, oh, basically he just wants her to let the past be the past. And she says, well, yeah, I won't be reaching out. And I
So
just
he
wish
said
she
something. He said, when it comes to responses or whatever, it's on my time, not on yours. What is that to say to someone who you have a relationship with? Like, relationships aren't for everybody because everything can't be on your time. If you want everything on your time, you know what you should be?
by yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah. By yourself. Yeah. I don't want to speak on projections over people's lives, so I'm just not say nothing. But yeah, she just lets him know she won't be reaching out. And
Yeah.
I wish she would just show, because that's what he wants anyways, instead of telling him. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. With this whole, I can be a leader thing, to me, it's not about having all the brawn in the world, but like, if there's a problem within your household, are you the one who's initiating, hey, let's work through things because you don't want discord in your household? To me, that's how you could lead. But he's so far away from it. Just a passive human being. Anyways, that's all. It's not even 40 minutes because
I
it wasn't
know.
much this episode. But we will catch you guys on the next one. It seems like we get a call with cousin Denise. So Maybe that'll take us somewhere else. But yeah, let us know in the comments how you felt about everything, and we'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Bye.